They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle, celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 163 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see who we got here this morning. Hit that share button, hit that like button as you come in. We got the Takesha High in the building. Rodney Richardson, Connecticut Principal of the Year, Assistant Principal of the Year. Arlette Johnson in the building. Marsha Poe, Scott Wiley, Renee Graham, Yolanda McKinney, John Herricks, James Wilburn, Demetrius Scott, Principal Otis Kitchen II. I saw you behind that camera the other day doing some TV action. Principal Kitchen II. Principal Dot McKeever Jeter, Darnell McElveen, Hotep up there in Minnesota. What's the temperature up there, Darnell? What y'all about 55 now? It's cold up that bad boy. Michael Benson in the building. Golf RWT, Principal Sherrod Laws in the building. Yvonne Thornton, the Queen. My wife, man, she's here. She's here, man, taking care of me, man, because sometimes I ain't taking care of myself. Kimberly Broughton Kafele is in the building. Melissa Jones Chunu, September Devon Vance Daniels in the building. We got the good Principal Sean Hurt in the building, man. He was dropping some stuff this morning, y'all. If you didn't see Sean Hurt this morning at 10 o'clock, Facebook Live, followed by Create and Educate with the two doctors, Sheikah Houston, Tammy Taylor. But Sean Hurt, if you didn't see him, go on back there and check him out, man. He was stepping on some toes this morning, man. Let me tell y'all, some of the folks getting these promotions ain't qualified to be there yet. They ain't had the proper training and exposure, but they getting these promotions and they in these positions and they don't know what to do. But the funny thing is me and Sean was on the same page because that's my topic today, right? So in part anyway. Good stuff as always, Principal Sean Hurt, the turnaround principal. He was talking good. We got Angeles Taranjo Rosales in the building, Jimmy J.B. Baker in the building, Stacy Joseph, Ronald Pugh, Cammie Berry, Jacqueline. That's like Jacqueline. There's no last name there. It's like Prince, just Prince. Said Jacqueline, right? She's like a lot of different Jacquelines in the world, but she said, I'm the Jacqueline. I hear that, man. I hear that. Justin McMillan in the building. He said, Principal McMillan is in the house ready to kick the tires and light the fires. I hear that in Colorado. Bam! We got the good doctor, DeLacy Davis in the building. Let me tell y'all something about DeLacy. I'm going to be bringing him on this platform at some point, but let me just holler this real quick. DeLacy is like a year or two younger than me, and so we the same age. We both in our 60s. But when I was like on the come up as a speaker, he was already out there, man. He was rocking these microphones and these audiences. And I used to be in some of those audiences, man. And I said, man, I want to be like that dude one day. And here I am, one of my initial inspirations. Y'all hear me. This dude you see on the thread on Facebook, on Instagram. No, he's on LinkedIn. Dr. DeLacy D. Davis. This man's presence inspired me in ways that are indescribable in terms of me becoming a presenter, right? Shout out to you, DeLacy. Where we at? I'm getting ready to get started too. Deborah Hybel Scott in the building. Josh Tovar, Principal Tovar, MPA Jaguars is in the building. Hit that share button, y'all. Hit that retweet button. Hit that like button. Hit that repost button. Let the folks know, man, these algorithms are tricky, man. Let them know that we are here. Stephen Johnson's in the building. I'm getting ready to get it started, y'all. Lamar Roberts, Yvette Simmons is in the building down there in Huntsville. Carrie Perrier Wilson's in the building. Sharon Brown's in the building. We got a lot of folks in the building. Jocelyn Nelson. Let me see anybody in here that I just must shout out before oh, man. I was going to say anybody I must shout out, and I just saw the person I just must shout out. His name is Sharif El-Mekki. He's in the building, and he is revolutionizing education as it relates to how we bring in an abundance more Black male educators, Black men into the classroom, but not just bringing them there, but training them while they're there and retaining them while they're receiving all that training. So Sharif El-Mekki is here, and he was actually the teacher of one of my guests today, which we'll get into soon. I guess that's given his age. When you was a teacher of a guest, you ain't no young whippersnapper no more, Sharif. I'm getting ready to get it going, y'all. I'm gonna end on Sharif. So let me say this to everybody here formally now. Good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 163 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. I got a question to ask y'all. Quick question. How you feeling? We're at the end of the school year. Each week is a new school district or region that's on summer break. But I got to ask you, I'm going to ask you all summer long, how you feeling, right? Man, I spoke in Lancaster, in Texas, Monday and Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I was in Mississippi, I think. Was that where I was? In Jackson, Mississippi? Yeah. And then on Thursday, I was in Charleston, South Carolina. And on Friday, yesterday, I was in Norfolk, Virginia. And to get from Mississippi to Charleston, the flight, there was a ground stop, which means I was going to miss my connection. So I wanted to be there. So I drove 11 hours. Yeah, you heard it right. I drove 11 hours. I got to the hotel at 6 a.m. the next morning, slept an hour, got up, did my keynote at 9:30. So I was a little tired. And then my body took a little hit. Well, we ain't going to get specific with that, but we'll just keep it right there. But I'm going to say this. How you feeling? I know what it is to be tired. I know what it is to be exhausted, but so do you. You know the year you had. I know there's somebody out there that's beat down, tired, exhausted, worn out, practically burnt out. I know how I felt the other day with them 11 hours and no sleep, potato chips for dinner. And then the body said, uh-oh, I can't even be specific on that one. But I'm going to tell you something, y'all. Hear me. Despite all that, I'm on fire! Woo! Woo! I had to get that out, man. That stuff don't, man, it's going to make you a little tired, but it ain't going to extinguish my flame. Hey, somebody out there, did you let that work extinguish your flame? It's human to be tired, but is your flame still raging? Did you let that challenge extinguish your flame? Did you let that superintendent that you don't mesh with extinguish your flame? Did you let that parent that you had a conflict with extinguish your flame? See, we ain't going to let that happen. We ain't going to let that stuff douse the fire. We get tired, go to bed and rest, but come back renewed and ready to continue the fight. Like, here go the water right here. Let's make sure the top's on tight. We ain't going to let that water put us out, man. That fire going to rage. And that's where you got to be, right? So my commentary today, we'll just say that was it. That's the second week in a row now that I'm skipping my commentary because that was pretty much a commentary. Hey, y'all, welcome to all the first timers, right? You first time, because, you know, I'm everywhere I go, I'm inviting new people on here. First timers, welcome to this. If I'm a little louder than what you saw me at the presentation you saw me at, that's because I'm home, man. I'm on my platform, not yours. So when I'm home, I let loose, right? So, but welcome, and don't let this be your last time. But keep in mind, if this is your first time, you missed 162 sessions. So you go to the YouTube channel, Virtual AP Leadership Academy, and just binge watch the previous 162 sessions after watching this one. It'll take you a long time because they're all 90 minutes to an hour. I mean, to 2 hours, right? So, but that's all right. Sometimes I say this all the time. People say, why you make them so long, Kafele? I say, because we ain't no show with a time limit. We free PD. So don't complain about no free PD. If I go 5 hours, just rock with me. We trying to make the world a better place. We trying to make sure that we got leaders who are ready so that when Sean Hurt comes on, he don't have to talk about the fact that it's leaders who ain't qualified to be in position because they didn't receive the proper training. Well, we trying to make sure you get that training on Saturday morning, every Saturday morning at 10:55 Eastern Standard Time. School Leadership Institute, let me run through these real quick. Join me in person, live, July 11 and 12 down in Charlotte, North Carolina with the School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. Go to principalkafele.com and scroll down to the announcement section. You will see the announcement for this. Click the register button, register, and join me in Charlotte for 2 days of nothing but leadership. But in the meantime, you know, I've been telling you about all them other conferences I'm doing that week. I'm not going to do all that today. I'm just going to mention Black Educators Rock, right? So the Black Educators Rock, because, you know, I'm affiliated with that. You know, I'm part of the organization. So Black Educators Rock, that's July 13 through 16. Go to the Black Educators Rock website and register and meet me in Jacksonville, Florida, July 13 through 16. Now, I will not be there all those days because I'll be at other conferences, but I will be there Saturday the 15th. And then I'm doing a full day Aspiring Administrators Boot Camp. Although we call it Aspiring Administrators, it's for aspiring administrators, it's for assistant principals, it's for new principals. If veterans want to attend, be there, but it's not a separate entity. It's a part of the Black Educators Rock Conference, which Sharif El-Mekki, who's on the call, he'll be there too. And several others. Sean will be there. Sean Hurt will be there. Sheikah Houston, Tammy Taylor, two doctors, they'll be there. And so many others who I don't see their names on the thread, they'll be there. So I'll be doing that full day leadership session from 10 o'clock a.m. till 4 o'clock p.m. Yeah, 10 to 4. And by the way, let me just throw this in here. We as presenters at the Black Educators Rock Conference, we have committed to not receive pay for this conference. So we made an agreement, like a gentleman's shake, so to speak. No one gets paid until I decide I want to be paid. And I'm not getting paid, right? So we bring all these speakers down there. They volunteering their time, effort, and energy to pour out this information. So when you register to come down, just know you coming to see speakers who are not being paid a dime to be there. So when I go from 10 o'clock a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. on that Sunday, I'm doing that for free, baby. Right? So come on down there. Black Educators Rock Conference in Jacksonville, Florida. Go just Google Black Educators Rock and then register and join us in Jacksonville, right? Join us in Jacksonville on the 13th through the 16th, but I will be on the 16th, that Sunday, talking to leaders. Enough of that. This thing is blazing. I can't even keep it in one hand. My hand gets hot, man. My fingers. This thing is blazing, right? So get yourself a copy of the Assistant Principal Identity. This is my newest joint, man. As Sharif would say, John, right? So, because that's how the Philly fall. I know I messed that up, Sharif, right? But the Assistant Principal Identity, protecting your leadership mindset, fervor, and authenticity. Ooh, my fingers burning, man. This thing is like moving, right? So get yourself a copy. I see you, Principal Chris Gaston. That's my man down here in Jersey City, man. He was just at Harvard getting his PD on, man. Good to see you, Chris, right? So get yourself a copy. Go to Amazon, get your other device, and just get it now. Get it out the way. Get your copy. If you're a principal, it's for you too. You have APs in the building, and I would think you would want to read what they read, right? So it's for you. If you a superintendent, you got APs in your district, and I would think you would want to read what they're reading, right? Get yourself a copy, and while you're at it, that's the flagship. Get that one too, the Assistant Principal 50, right? So let's see, am I finished with my announcements? That Alexa messaging that I do every morning, they put it on pause because they got something they had to put on ahead of me. So I'll be back the second week of July, right? The second week. Yeah, John. There you go, Sharif. John. See, I just said joint. I'm, Spike Lee joint, right? So I'll be back to Alexa soon, y'all, the second week of July. And that's that. Enough of my announcements. Let's go. I chose as a topic, it's summertime. How do I maximize the next 2 months, right? How do I maximize them? So I thought, I said, man, I got these two brothers, man. They could bring that information. So let me bring them on up here, man. I got the good brothers, Dionel Waters, Dr. Dionel Waters, and good brother Principal Kwame Simmons. They were both principals. They're doing other things now, but here, you've all heard me say it before. Once a principal, you die a principal. It's always in your blood. So my brothers, good morning to both of you. How you feeling?
I'm well, bro. How are you?
I'm on fire, man. You know me, man. I stay on fire.
You already know.
Good
morning, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Good morning to you. Let me let the audience know who you are. For those that don't know, I'm sure that there are many out there that do, but let me let them know who you are first. Let me go with Dr. Dionel Waters, who's currently serves as an area superintendent for IDEA Public Schools, born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Dr. Waters attended Philadelphia Public Schools, graduating from the Franklin Learning Center. He earned his Bachelor's of Arts degree in elementary education, child development from Morehouse College, a Master of Arts degree in curriculum and teaching from Michigan State University, a dual Master of Education in educational leadership and Master of Business Administration, MBA from Dallas Baptist University, and his PhD in K-16 educational leadership policy studies from the University of Texas at Arlington. His teaching experience spans across the United States and Australia. Throughout his career, Dr. Waters has served as an adjunct professor of education and educational leadership, an elementary and secondary principal and executive director of schools. He is published author of many articles, and his book, Preparing for and Surviving the First 90 Days of the Principalship. His upcoming book, School Leaders and Crucial Conversations, is set to be released this summer. Dr. Waters is also the CEO and founder of Pioneer Leadership Coaching. He resides in DeSoto, Texas, with his wife, Cynthia, and their two children, Amoy and Dionel Jr. DeSoto, the home of one of our previous guests, Dr. Levels. She was in the building, and here's the book, Preparing and Surviving the First 90 Days of the Principalship. If you don't have a copy, is it on Amazon?
Yes, sir.
Go to Amazon, y'all. Just get your other device and hit it up now. Get it out the way. Let's take it to number one. preparing and surviving the first 90 days of the principalship. So let's take it to number 1 on the administrators page on Amazon. With that said, we got the good brother Kwame Simmons in the building. Let me read this to you. Kwame Simmons is the founder and senior facilitator of the Simmons Advantage, a consulting firm that partners to provide organizational change strategy, leadership development, and workforce development with emphasis on people with disabilities. Mr. Simmons has spent over 20 years as an educator revolutionizing urban schools. Y'all hear that? He is a dynamic educator who uses an innovative approach to revolutionize urban education. Simmons has dedicated his career to transforming schools in the urban centers of Detroit, Michigan, St. Louis, Missouri, and in the District of Columbia. His enthusiasm and depth of knowledge regarding current research in leading practices, executive management, and organizational change make him a rarity in education. Mr. Simmons has worked tirelessly within each of his roles as an educator to turn urban schools into national models of success. He has managed to do this while creating an atmosphere that is motivating and designed to raise student achievement and organizational outcomes. He has received national recognition for his efforts from the Washington Post, the U.S. Department of Education, the 2015 BET Honors Award for Excellence in Education. In 2016, Simmons realized his roller coaster of experiences not only impacted him as a school leader, but were prevalent challenges in other industries as well. Therefore, he expanded his research on effective school models to include organizational effectiveness across industries. The results of this research and the blessing of his wife prompted the creation of the Simmons Advantage. TSA, as he calls it, now serves clients nationwide, making dramatic impacts, particularly with challenges related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Lastly, Mr. Simmons is the proud product of the Detroit public school system. He received his undergraduate degree from Hampton University, the real H. That's where that HU, which is where my daughter graduated from as well.
Big facts.
Yeah. Say it again.
Big facts.
Yes, sir. And graduate degree from Teachers College, Columbia University in organizational development and leadership, McDonald's School of Business, and Georgetown University with an executive master's in education. That is our 2 guests today, folks. Whole lot there. Hit that share button, hit that retweet button, hit that repost button. But here's the other thing. Hit that like button, man. You got to manipulate those algorithms, man. Let the world know there are things happening on the virtual AP Leadership Academy. So let's jump into it, y'all. You know, I got 2 powerhouse leaders in the building today. And beyond your bios, I want to learn a little bit more about you that's probably not in the bio. So as I ask every guest that's been on here, and we're talking about well over 100 now, beyond what's in the bio, Dr. Waters, who is Dr. Dionel Waters?
Well, first and foremost, Principal Kafele, thank you so much for having me. I'm here, glad to be here with Brother Simmons, a fellow Michigander in the house, so I really feel at home. I'm on fire this morning. I'm excited to be here. Wasn't nervous at first until I found out Mr. Elmecki was on the call. So every time Mr. Elmecki's around, I get a little bit nervous, but that's just out of respect and admiration for him and the impact he has had on my life. So thank you so much, Mr. Elmecki. He was my first Black male teacher that I had. So I will always have a special spot in my heart for Mr. Elmecki. But
just real quick, and just so the folks know, that's Sharif Elmecki, and he was a guest here on the platform. So scroll back on the YouTube channel and check that out too.
Yeah, I dare not call him Sharif ever.
I know.
So, yeah. But as you mentioned already, Principal Kafele, born and raised in Philadelphia. I'm a husband to my wife, Cynthia, a father to my 2 children, Amoy and Dionel Jr. A long-time educator, even though I'm quite young. Been a principal for 10 years and then also a teacher. But more than anything, I consider myself to be a true servant leader to those that are entrusted in my care, from the students all the way up to the adults. And the reason why education plays such a big role in my life is because growing up, both my parents were addicted to drugs and my dad was incarcerated most of my life. So school was a safe haven. That's why you have so much admiration and respect for the educators that I had, such as Mr. El Mekki and others throughout Philly. But glad to be here this morning. I'm looking forward to diving right in. A lot of good company on the call, as I can already see.
Yeah.
And one little quick fact I will say is my wife is from Dallas. I live in the Dallas area now. We met at Morehouse and Spelman. And after I graduated from Morehouse, I went to Michigan State for grad school. She came back home for grad school. And the reason why I'm no longer in Michigan is because she gave me the ultimatum, Brother Simmons. She said, come down to Dallas and be with me, or find you a woman in Detroit. So I said, I guess I have to come on down to Dallas and be with her. So I'm just excited to be here. So a lot of love and respect for the 313, gentlemen.
I love that. I love that. Hey, Brother Kwame, beyond bio as an educator, who is Kwame Simmons?
Listen, man, I'll similar to Dionel, man. I support you, good brother. Kafele. Listen, one, I think it's not enough space for us to be authentically Black men.
Yeah.
Right. And so anytime there is an opportunity to support a platform, to support individuals structurally, business wise, I'm down for that. I've told you that privately, and I want to say it publicly.
Yes, sir.
And to Dionel's point around Sharif's impact with the Black Male Educator Conference that we were in last year, I tell people there isn't a better conference. There might be as good. I haven't been there, but there isn't one better. Right. So to go out and be able to see a sea of ranges of ages of Black men impacting education, knowing that we have 1%. Some people are saying 2%. I say 1%. Inside our schools, but to see almost all of them in one room in Philly was powerful. And so for me, I just want to be an ingredient to that recipe of building this institution of soldiers that are going into our schools and being powerful, but being able to be holistic in that, right? Being able to be fathers, to understand that there's space around what Dionel just suggested around marriage. My first year as a principal, to your point, Dionel, I had just gotten married, and my wife told me I didn't get married to be single. And that was it, bro. It wasn't no rubric. It wasn't none of that, bro. It wasn't no scaffolding being done. The intent was to get it figured out, right? In short order. So that's who I am in a nutshell, bro. Just I want to be a servant leader. I want to be very supportive, and I want to be someone that when the chips fall, you can count on me to be there and be supportive and be someone that you can see as valid and valuable to your network.
I appreciate you, man. Those are strong words, both of you. And I keep saying on this platform that I gotta get something going one day where we're talking relationships and the significance of those relationships, the leadership. I see Sean Hurt here, and he had that conversation on his platform once, and I said I need to bring him on and some others, and we just kick it and spend a couple hours talking about the impact of that significant other on our effectiveness in the work that we do. I can't do this work, and my wife is on here. She's listening live every one of these, and I can't do this work without her support. It's just not possible, right? And not only her support, but as a lot of people say to her on my platforms, without her sacrifice. You know, we talking about her having a husband that spends a lot of time in the sky, you know, in other parts of the country, but yet the relationship is solid as a rock, right? As Ashford and Simpson would say. You know, both of you were, and I'm making an assumption, both of you were APs at one point?
Yes.
Yeah, so both of you were APs and principals. And I want to ask you, and I'll start with Dr. Waters on this one. What was it? And I asked this question about you, but I'm really asking it for the audience to reflect on themselves. What was it about you the individual that said, I am the right person to step into a role as a principal? What you see in yourself that made you think you were that guy? And I'll start with Dr. Waters on that one.
Funny thing about that question, Principal, is I never saw myself at first as a principal. When I was a teacher, my goal was to be a teacher, teach kindergarten for 40 years and then retire. So I had no desire to go into administration and do anything beyond that. But then I had folks that saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself, which was powerful because that allowed for me to explore other options.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have a much greater impact on the children that looked like me that I got to be in front of every day as a teacher. So after doing that and learning more about the principalship and studying the principalship and going to school for it, I realized that I had a much greater calling on my life than just being a teacher in the classroom. Even though I loved it, you can make more of an impact and change in a much broader space. So there were some things that I knew going into the principalship, especially the AP. The assistant principalship, I will say, is a very powerful position, and I loved it. I was a high school assistant principal at a very, very famous high school in the Dallas area for athletics and all of those types of things that's been around for a while. And I learned a lot. I first became an assistant principal at the age of 25 in Dallas ISD. And that says a lot. That's the 12th largest district. So that really gives you an opportunity to just see the scale of responsibilities that you have. So in that role, I learned from a lot of veterans, had a lot of great mentors that helped push me, but mostly being able to see something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. So as a leader, I wanted to make sure I was able to cultivate that, not only in my students, but also in the people that were under my care as teachers, assistant principals, etc., and being able to push them. So I knew once I had that opportunity to reflect and really get some more training in those areas, that really helped me out a lot.
Love it, love it. Same question, Kwame. What was it about you that you saw in you that you felt that you'd be effective in this role?
You know, I think my perspective always starts with my dad. And so as a young man, my father always said that you to believe in yourself unequivocally, and you can do whatever you put your mind to. And then he taught me about work ethic, about the importance of reading and being always being a student of the game. And anything that you need to know, you just got to go find, a book and read it and ask questions. And so, what we now call lifelong learners, that's just what he put into my head. And so, I had this notion of believing him. And so as a teacher, I just love kids. And I said, I really want to be good at, what's happening. So I started just reading more. Like, what does it mean to be a good teacher? What goes with it? So you start seeing the art and science of the profession. And then I was approached to become an AP. And I mean, I got hazed, bro. Like, it wasn't no onboarding. July 1, I walked into the office and it was all these papers piled up. They had just purchased a new curriculum. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? They said, you're supposed to get this ready for the teachers. They'll be here on Wednesday. It was Monday. I go to the gym. There's all these books piled up in the middle of the gymnasium, bro. And that was the beginning, bro. I was like, look, you got to figure out a system. So I started calling some of the teachers I had great relationships with, and they came in and helped me figure it out, which was the beginning of distributive leadership. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Calling them in, they got an opportunity to be involved with the development of a system, because what we created in that moment was an organizational system on how they would access their resources, right? And so I never really look at the work that we do in schools as half empty. I always see the glass as half full. Yes, and so that's what keeps me motivated. And ironically, you asking this question just last night, a really good friend of mine, big shout out to Harold Henry, being promoted in Baltimore City to an executive director. the mentor of mine I saw as a principal, he was the first person, black male, that I saw in a role where I got the idea, I want to do that. Everett Garnett has spent over 40 years in Baltimore City schools. And when I saw him, he was at West Baltimore Middle School. And I'm telling you, man, it was like almost 2,000 middle school kids in there. And I'm talking about when he walked through the hallways, it was like Malcolm X. I mean, it was silent.
Wow.
And I said, oh man,
Wow.
like the energy that is coming out of his pores. I said, I gotta channel that. And so I've always connected with him. I was peppering him with questions last night. And so I think that's been my approach. One, to stay committed to learning and staying true to who I am. Like my core is that I believe in black kids. I believe in black male development. And at this age and stage, I don't explain, does that mean I support women? Does that mean I support black girls? I don't deal with that. I'm just saying my core, my genesis is from where I start as a young black male and what my experience has been in schools. How do I elevate solutions to other people that they can replicate so that other kids that look like me experience school in a way that they want to continue to engage and excite others to come in and engage as well.
I love it. You know, let me holler at the people that are watching right now, the family, as I call it, the virtual AP Leadership Academy fam. I got the mirror up, y'all. And I just want to throw the same question at each and every one of you. What is it about you? What is it about who you are? What is it about who you see in your mirror? What is it about your essence that you feel that you are the right person for your students, your staff, your school, your students' parents, that school community? What is it about you? Because see, you got to really feel good about yourself if you're going to be effective as a school leader. If you got issues with you, if you don't see that you got what it takes to take a school to a level that was previously not even thought of, not even conceptualized, then how are we going to get that school to that level if you ain't feeling great about yourself? So that matters. So I ask you to question, somebody out there, write it down. What is it about you that those students need you? Let's go. Kwame, you know, your bio states that you're a dynamic educator who uses an innovative approach to revolutionize urban education. I want you to, because I'm I didn't even get to the topic yet because I wanted to do some preliminary talk with you guys. But talk to us about this innovative approach to revolutionizing urban education. I ain't asking for the whole workshop, but just what does that mean?
So, I think the first thing is I was alluding to in the last question. One, at the core, who I am, I'm black. I'm a black male. Mm-hmm. And I ain't talking no black on the outside. We black on the outside and the inside. And so I used to say to people, and to be honest with you, to a degree, there are times in which I'm still reconciling now the ability to be 100% authentically black each day.
Yeah.
Right? To what degree, as a black person, particularly black men, can you reach 100% of your authenticity? And so, as another person who travels a lot, my wife and I have this running log where, when I'm with my hoodie on and I got my T-shirt, particularly my Black Lives Matter shirt, it's a random TSA check, right? But if I'm dressed up and I'm ready to present, I'm making my way through. And I'm talking about, it doesn't matter what city. And so there are these microaggressions that we have to deal with on a regular basis, where I have to get my mind strengthened to push forward to give other people solutions. And so this innovative approach, is just embracing our culture. So my very first principalship, I got to the school and they didn't tell me the school was behind a federal halfway house. So I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, shout out St. Louis. Those my people. I'm right by Woes Community Center. Everybody knows that from the Lou. And so the federal halfway house is there. And I'm like, somebody could have told me this in the interview, man. I'm like, and so at the time, the St. Louis was had the highest murder rate in the nation. And so lots of drama and things happening. And so teachers were getting their cars stolen before I got there. So that was one of the first meetings I had as a group. They're like, look, you can't keep teachers because, it's a lot of theft. And so I came up on the weekend, which is a suggestion I always give. When you take a principalship, don't worry about what's 8 to 5. Get up to the neighborhood of that school and walk the neighborhood on the weekends. Okay. And so I'm there on the weekends, and I say, I'm just walking, talking to the guys, and I walk up to one of the spots, and it's some of the young fellas. And I say, hey, look, fellas, look, hypothetically, it's known that teachers are getting their cars stolen. And if for some reason somebody knew about that, I'm willing to broker a deal where if we could keep the cars there from 7:30 to 6 o'clock, we got a truce. And if it's something that you want to do, like come to the school and play ball, I'll open the gym so that can happen. If you happen to know who that might be. All of a sudden, no cars getting stolen.
Oh.
Until we had a teacher stay till 6:30. The thing was gone.
Wow.
And so I go back up to the block, and guess what they hit me with, brother? They said, hypothetically speaking, if it had gone past 6 o'clock, what was the deal? So the point that I'm making is,
wow,
one, you can't be afraid of the community that you serve, right? Understanding that is a paradox, that we serve the community. We come there to visit, and we got to understand the culture, the dynamics, and elevate that culture by acknowledging it. And so there was a dynamic that was happening there that I needed to acknowledge. We did that. And then over the course of some years, developed a tremendous amount of respect for each other. And I could ask those young brothers to do anything for me in the neighborhood, and things will get done. And so that's just an example I'd like to share around acknowledging the culture, looking at resources that most people, particularly the media, will help to define as menacing. But I looked at each of them as young soldiers, and I had to give them an assignment. And once they got their assignment, bro, they ran through the wall with it.
Yeah. I love what you said, but there was something you said that resonated to the extent that I want to repeat it for the benefit of the family that's watching. And that is, you said, to elevate a culture, you must first acknowledge it.
Mm.
And see, I'm just wondering, just wondering out loud, to what extent do we acknowledge the culture within and without the school before we're really earnest about trying to elevate it? How do I elevate something that I haven't acknowledged? How do I elevate something I don't know? How do I elevate something that I feel is less than me? All that kind of stuff. So I wanted to repeat that for the folks, that you got to acknowledge that culture before you can be serious about elevating what it is you're doing within that building, and without, in this case, this regard. So given the topic today, summer preparation, what you just said, maybe not necessarily that scenario, but what might be a relevant approach to our viewers this morning, as it relates to what you said toward their summer preparation going into next school year? And I'm still with you, Kwame.
Okay. So I think it's a few reflective questions that begin that process. One, does your school have an understanding of its challenges and opportunities? Right? It's really thinking about what's there, like assessing those strengths. Is your school a place that everyone wants to be? Right? Do you create an environment where everyone feels a sense of belonging? And so notice I'm not using MTSS, PBIS, student achievement. I'm not using those terms. These are much broader global questions that you should really just think about for a period of time, and then start to look and see, do I have results? Do I have evidence, artifacts, if I'm saying yes to these questions, that actually define the answers that I'm giving? And so, and no school has all of the answers. That's why that continuous learning is so important. And so going into the summer as an assistant principal, as a school leader, you got to be reflective. You got to hold up that mirror that you just held up and say, okay, where did we do well? And where can I be getting better? Because anyone that is non-reflective can never be highly effective. Because people who are non-reflective are religiously committed to excuses.
Can you hit that again? Anybody who's non-reflective
can never be highly effective. Because people who are non-reflective are religiously committed to making excuses.
Woo! Woo! You said it right there, man. That's why I keep this. I go nowhere without this.
Come on, bro.
Self-reflection, self-assessment, self-adjustment, self-improvement, man. How can I be effective and I'm not reflective? Then you say I'm committed to the same old mess every day.
Come through.
I'm not committed to growing. Because I don't care about the game film. I'll just go on and do the same thing. Right? Man, I love it. Hey, and you see we got Keisha Chandler in the building.
Big shout out. Big shout out. What's going on, Keish?
Hey, Dr. Waters, times are evolving, man. I'm here in Jersey. I wasn't here during the week, so I didn't get to experience the orange skies, right? You all familiar with it. I didn't see it. I can see it in my wife because she's coughing and carrying on, right? But my son and I were having a conversation about it right before we came on, and my oldest son, and he was saying to me, he said, "I'm glad you weren't home, because to breathe that, everybody was wearing masks and all that kind of thing, because this was like the epicenter over here." And I thought about it when it was happening, just from a distance, and I said, man, the world is changing, and it's steadily evolving for the good and the bad. But as the times are evolving, the world is evolving, leadership must evolve, right? And I know that there are many of us in this space who are evolving, but I also know, because I get to see it with my own eyes, that there's some of us in this space who are still doing what we did back in 1990 something, right? 1980 something. We haven't evolved with the time. We haven't evolved with the youngster of the 21st century, etc. So the questions for both of you, but I want to start with Dr. Waters. With the two of you being not only former principals, but these leadership trainers, leadership consultants, have you observed, this is kind of me putting you on the spot on this one, I probably should have told you in advance, but we good. Have you observed any leadership practices or behaviors or habits that may have been effective in the past, pre-pandemic that type of thing, but maybe now in 2023 going into 24, we may need to think about pivoting out of and replacing that with something radically different? Is there anything on the top of your head in terms of leadership that you think needs to be left behind as we bring something more relevant to the space?
Not sure if I can just say something that actually needs to be left totally behind, but maybe with some modifications or adjustments. I remember when I first became a principal in my mid to late 20s, I would consider myself back then like a Joe Clark type principal, because that's what I knew of Black men in leadership roles. We come and we fix things.
Yeah.
Okay. They give us the task. They need you to come turn this campus around. They want you to do this. They want you to do that. And there was really never a focus on the instructional piece. It was more like, these kids are out of control, Doc. I need you to come in here and make it happen, get them in order so we can have a safe school. Okay, I get that part. But sort of going back to the reflection piece with the times of change, that the times are changing, you have to really reflect during this summertime, since we're talking about the summertime. Yes, you have your mirror up there, but one thing I had to learn as a principal, and I've been a principal at the elementary, middle, and high school level. In each space, I had to lead differently in each space.
Yeah.
I had to learn the community. I had to learn the environment, just like Brother Simmons was talking about. And the way in which you learn the community and environment is three things I always kept in mind. First, you have to listen to the community and the environment. You have to learn from the community and environment, and you have to love the community and environment. So I had to listen to what they had to say. I had to learn from them about their needs and expectations. And I had to make sure that they felt like they were loved by me as their leader. So times are changing. Leadership is requiring us to change some of the practices that we've had, but there are some core things that we need to keep in place when it comes to being a leader.
Yeah.
And one thing in the summertime I always did with my staff, despite wherever I went to, I asked everybody the same 4 questions. And I see a couple of my teachers on this call too, who knew me as a teacher, who I was their principal when they were a teacher. Now their area superintendent. Shout out, Ms. Askew. I ask the same questions all the time. What worked well? What didn't work? What is one thing you would change automatically if you could? And what are your expectations of me as your leader? I wanted to hear from them, but I also wanted them to tell me what their expectations are of me as their leader. And you got to get out in front of that. Ask that to your staff, ask that to your students, ask that to your families.
Hey, give us some questions one more time, Doc.
Yes. What worked well? What's not working? What is one thing you would change automatically if you could, right off the top? And what are your expectations of me as your leader? I have expectations for you as the leader, but what are your expectations of me? So we can get that laid out in front so I can make sure that I'm serving you just as much as you're serving me. I talked to my brother yesterday, principal, about the orange sky in Philly. So we didn't have it down here in Dallas, but it was prevalent in Philly too. And he was telling me that it was really bad. It was like you can go out there, but it smelled like a heavy smoke everywhere. And I thought about that and said, well, in that case, what are we doing to educate our students and our communities about what's actually happening out there?
Yeah.
A lot of folks didn't even know where it was coming from.
Yeah.
A lot of folks didn't even know why it was coming. Yes, it's during the summertime down here where we don't have students in school, but those places that did have students in school, or how are we educating them about what's happening in the world? And that also changes your leadership approach as the world is also changing too. But there are still some things that are really core to being a leader of a school, of a community, that we have to keep in place despite how the world is changing as well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Kwame, same question.
Yeah, so I'll say 2 things. One, building on Dionel's point, what I've seen with my clients and also studying districts as they progress through the different phases of COVID. There is a distinct difference between schools and school districts that invested deeply into their families and communicating with their families on a regular basis, and those that didn't. Because there is also a value system in those that did that before. Because what happened in Detroit Public Schools is now struggling because they hadn't invested prior to. And so all of the money that came with COVID, all of the ESSER funds, now that state departments are right sizing and going back to the traditional funding structures, Detroit Public Schools, for example, went from March to June, or almost March to September, asynchronous. So you left almost 50,000 families to their own vices. And so when the smoke cleared, they lost almost 6,000 families. That's almost a $20 million hit. Now coming right after COVID, now you got cuts. And so to the earlier point that I was making around supporting and understanding that culture. See, if you really appreciate the culture and you want to elevate it, you're not going to let your families do that. You know, you can't have teachers asynchronous and you just putting something up on a screen. You got to put people up and just figure it out. That was the greatest innovative period from March 2020 to June that any school district had. That was like an incubation period. There was no judgment. It wasn't no more state tests happening. You could do whatever you wanted, and opportunity lost by taking a weak way out. So that's one. I think the other thing is the use of technology. So how we're using technology, the evolution of ChatGPT, AI, artificial intelligence inside our schools are now coming up even more than the use of technology and what was happening inside classes. So before you had smart boards and things like that, but now you got a wave of technology that is pushing into our space that we have to become much more versatile in how we are introducing it and thinking about how we use it to really elevate learning and thinking opportunities. And so I would say those two things really stick out as areas you have to invest deeply into your families so that they know and can rock with you. That was something that was always important to me.
Yeah.
And then next, I think that this technology, like we have to do a better job. I've seen districts spend millions of dollars into virtual platforms that are now sitting dormant. Like, why not integrate those things and use it as accelerators, opportunities for folk to learn and have different opportunities, particularly where you have teacher shortages. So if you have the content, you can now solve challenges with content that you have that you validated, that you see as high quality content, and not just rushing toward, let me get a live body in here, because we all know the difference between certified and qualified.
And Principal Kafele, before you move on, can I add one thing to what Kwame said that I thought was really powerful?
Absolutely.
The use of the technology piece there, gentlemen. I don't think we really took advantage of that to the greatest extent that we could have during that COVID piece. Meaning, I remember my former district, one of my principal colleagues during COVID gave a great suggestion. That just goes to show you how a lot of folks don't have a growth mindset or innovative mindset. He proposed to the superintendent and other chiefs, he said, why not use the technology that we have? Everyone has Chromebooks, everyone's online. Let's get the best teachers in each content area. And this is speaking from a high school's perspective. Let's get the best teacher in each content area to do the most live Zoom teaching so that all the kids are getting a great first teach to begin with the best qualified person in the content area, and then allow for the other teachers that teach that content to be there to support with small groups, but what have you, but get the best teacher, because we can hit them all at one time, to teach and bring forth that first good instruction, and then we work it from there. And his recommendation I thought was brilliant, but it was shot down because of a lack of a growth mindset and being able to see things creatively and innovatively. What difference would that have made if we got the best in front of the kids that needed the most and be able to get it on a much larger scale via technology?
And I'm gonna put another layer on top of building on what Dionel is saying. So think about that. That's your general education. Imagine the same example for our students who are English language learners and our students who have special needs. And you get the very best English language learning teachers who have very solid curriculum, and you take our special education teachers and get quality content with them recorded. These are the two areas that when kids get inside those programs, they almost never get out. I ask districts all the time. And so APs, this is another question to ask yourself. In your special education departments, what percentage of your students are emancipated? So how many students exit out of your special education program? And don't talk to me about transitioning after 12th grade. That's not it, because that's the recipe to the ingredients for the school to prison pipeline. 75% of the black and brown men in prison had an IEP. Yeah. And so to Dionel's point, we can't blame others for our own self-inflicted wounds.
You know, I prefaced the question by saying I probably should have forewarned you that I gave it to you, but you brothers hit that out the park. You know, because that was precisely what I had in mind. You know, you talked about next level, you know, versus things that we do in the past and still try to replicate them today, and they're clearly not working. You know, you gave the folks who are listening some information, some strategy in terms of what I need to be thinking about moving forward versus what I'm already doing. And to your point, Dr. Waters, yeah, there's a whole lot of those leadership practices that they're entrenched, and they should be there. And I agree with you on that, right? Good stuff, y'all. Let's keep it moving. You know, in my opening commentary, I talked about exhaustion. You know, just folks are tired. You know, this is you know, I'm not on the front lines as a principal anymore. None of us are, of the three of us, but we know we're connected to the people who are, and it's very exhausting work. It can be frustrating. It can be discouraging, but we don't want to allow it to be. But it can be frustrating. But here we are in the summer months, and the summer, in many cases, represents a reset, a recharge, a rejuvenation, etc. I want to ask you a series of questions, but this one I'm just looking for kind of a broad overview. Starting with, I want to start with you, Dr. Waters. What would be your message to the leadership, APs and principals, anybody in leadership really, about moving into the summer as it relates to the transition to the new school year? What is your message to these folks coming off of yet another challenging school year?
Relax, first and foremost. Relax, rejuvenate, and I'm gonna put in there relearn. Yes, we want to learn and reflect on things that we may want to grow in, but there may be some things that we need to relearn. Some things that we thought were the right things to do that may need a little bit of changing and modifications there. When I wrote the book, Preparing for and Surviving the First 90 Days of the Principalship, the reason why I wrote that book is because when I first got my principal position, sort of similar to Brother Simmons, they were, thank you, Doc. They gave me the keys and pretty much said, go ahead and make this happen. No one sat down with me in my first year as a principal. I had 2 different superintendents, 2 different assistant superintendents, and 5 different executive directors my very first year. So our district was going through a lot of reset. And I wrote the book so that it was a one-to-one conversation, like with a colleague, to pretty much let you know, here are some things that you should consider when moving into the summer months, preparing for that upcoming school year. So that's what the book is pretty much about. Okay. And I give the example of Steph Curry. One thing I learned about Steph Curry some years ago was that every summer he focuses on one part of his basketball game to really hone in on during the off season so that he's prepared when the regular season starts. And that's one thing that I would really, really encourage a lot of aspiring principals and new principals to do, is to really focus on those areas that you want to improve. You can't get everything at one time. You can't fix all of them at one time, but being able to identify those key leverage points over the summer that's going to propel you for that upcoming school year, even if it's something quite small. I know personally, my growth area for me was to make sure that I invested more as an area director, focus more on building the leadership capacity of my assistant principals this past year. Why? Because I'm so removed from the kids in my position, but I know that the closest I could get to the kids without disrupting teachers or principals was that assistant principal. So every month I had a assistant principal cohort meeting where we focus on leadership building, trends that we're noticing in the district, instruction, curriculum, data, all of those pieces. And we also have a book study. That's why I got this book here, if you heard of this person, as the book for this upcoming school year for all the APs in the district, because I needed to get as close to the kid as I could, build up their capacity through the APs so that they can influence and impact the teachers that are right there in front of the kid every day. So when you really reflect, learn, and unlearn certain things over the summer, you really put yourself in a good position for that upcoming school year.
You know, before I go to you, Kwame, you know, Doc, you referenced Steph Curry in terms of isolating certain skills. That thing hollered at me when you said that. I didn't know that about Steph, because I'm going to use a speaker analogy, a keynote speaker analogy. And I know that although there's a, you know, we're a leadership audience, I know that there's a lot of us who do some speaking, and some of that speaking is at a staff meeting, right? And you know, as when I was on the come up and even into, you know, veteran speaker, I was saying to myself, Kafele, your introductions suck and your closing sucks. Your body is fine, right? In fact, I'll compliment myself. Your body is extraordinary, right? But your opening, man, that attention grabber, your closing, that thing that sends them off ready. I said it needs work. So I spent years, y'all, working on the opening. Forget about the body, which is the most important. I spent years perfecting the opening, and I spent years perfecting the closing. Do you hear me, somebody out there? I had the body down, but them few minutes to start the speech and them few minutes to end the speech, I didn't think they were effective. So what Dr. Waters is saying, you look at your skill set overall, but what's that thing you say, but let me give maximum effort, energy to this toward it getting better going into the next school year. And here you working on it mentally, emotionally, you're envisioning yourself over the summer like this is something I need to do different so that it lends itself to the rest of the totality of what I do, right? So I'm glad I didn't know that about Steph, you know, and I think that's good to know because it's transferable to the work that we do. Let me go to you, Kwame, with that same question. What's your overall message?
So I got a couple. I think one, to ask yourself a question about why do you open those school doors each day? And so we assume that there's an answer. Oh, so the kids can learn. But I challenge you to ask that question to your staff and see what answers you get back. Why are we here? What's happening here? Because there needs to be a framework for how you're operating, right? And so that's what Dionel is saying that Steph has adopted. He says, when I get to the summer, this window of time, I have the following things that make me a Hall of Fame player. In order to sustain that, I have to continue calibrating as I age and things change with my body and isolate areas to improve. But he has a framework from which he's operating, which starts with his shot, right? So one, I think about, do you have a viable curriculum available for every person who's standing in front of children? Do you have a viable curriculum, right? And so that means you are interrogating that. You are looking to see, is that there? That is, you should be obsessed with that. I'm going to go with the second one, because once you do that, that's going to help with your framework, because that means you're building a curriculum for the population that you're serving, right? Because you are trying to address a challenge, which means you've been studying this culture, you've been studying this community around about who you have. The next one, bro, this is why this work is lonely and it's complicated.
Yeah.
you got to interrogate beliefs. You have to interrogate the beliefs of people. If you don't have a system and a structure to get in there and figure out if people are elevating kids or if they're destroying kids. And so when you got a lot of classes, so Dionel was, stating how you started at a high school, you might have 100, 200 teachers. So how are you getting inside those classes to understand that? You got to figure that out. You got to have a way to understand that. And then number 3 is results. See, people will talk all day long, right? So one of the things that Kafele will say is, I'm the #1 education speaker in the country.
No, I won't.
Listen.
We got your back.
And we do. But I'm saying, but when you say it, that puts an anchor in the ground.
Yeah.
That your mentality is a certain way. But then that has to follow with results.
Yeah.
Right. So then they'll say, well, who is this brother? Now you see he got books, he's got articles, he's backed by respected organizations and entities. You're gonna look at practitioners who are gonna say, nah, that brother is bad. You don't know about it? Why you just not asking me about that? Go do some studying. And so the results is really what separates men from boys. It's what separates those schools who think they're good from those schools that sustain greatness over time, because they are committed to the details and the evidence of it. University of Michigan says this. No. I know I want to get you riled up, Dionel, but something that I like just in terms of like places that have been around a long time. The University of Michigan says those that stay will be champions. So you got to stay here. So that means if you stay here, we got a recipe that's going to build you up to be a champion. So your mentality is going to be, if you want to be average, you're going to get suffocated. That the oxygen is going to just get tightened up around you. That you're going to either leave up out of here or you're going to transform into somebody who's going to see themselves as being great. And so I think you take those 3 things: viable curriculum, the beliefs of the adults that are in that building, and then you take the results. What results are you looking for? And that needs to be couched around a change theory so that people understand the bus that they're on and the seat that they're in, so that when it's time to take this journey, I understand why I'm on this bus, right? I know in each of my positions, and every position that's on the bus is validated by the leader. It's not an adult in the building who shouldn't understand their connection to student achievement, to school culture, to the business and operations of the organization. So they, from their perspective, this is my role. This is my job on the team. And so I think that would be my response in terms of how they do that. And so once you do, I think the other thing that you also talked about, Kafele, is the pace. So we got to stop saying schools are too fast and accept the fact that you in a NASCAR race. And so what happens in a NASCAR race is what? Every now and again, what do? They get a pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
They take a break. They change the wheels. They calibrate the vehicles. And so as the leader, you got to say, look, if the kids are behind, you can't never catch somebody in front of you running the same race. So you got to run faster. You got to work harder. And so if you know those things to be true, then the next thing you have to do is say, okay, then where do we take these breaks? And those breaks are what I would call quick wins. You gotta take the strategy that you're isolating and say, okay, this is where we're gonna go on the trip, but here's our first stop. We're gonna take it here for the first stop, and that's how we're gonna validate if we're making progress. Because every time you get a quick win, it's gonna build the capacity and the confidence of the whole team to take a greater risk, to go forward, to push it a little further. And then that's what starts to ingrain the kind of culture of success, because of these repeated quick wins that you're telling them and the results that they're getting. Because now people are like, oh, we don't talk here, we get results.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say it. And so that's the thing that I would say I think is the linchpin. Stop making excuses about the pace of school and start defining the race for the school. And when you take your pit stops, but we're gonna work hard and we're gonna run.
I love it. See, here's what I'm hearing from you. I got in my mind this perennial low performing school. They haven't tasted victory. They haven't tasted success in decades. So then here comes this new principal, and this principal says, we're getting ready to be blue ribbon. We're going to be Title I Distinguished School Award. We're going to be the #1 school in the district, all this kind of stuff. And them people looking at him like, really? Let's see. He'll be here for maybe 30 days and he'll be gone. She'll be gone. What you say, Kwame, you saying, let me set you up for success with a little victory.
Yep.
And then when you taste that little bit of success, now let's go right here. Not here. Let's just go right here for a little more victory. And now we got that. Let's go right here. So that now we building this culture of victory, this culture of success. We're becoming accustomed to what winning feels like on a small scale, so we get used to it, and now we can talk about them big goals. That's what I'm taking from everything you say, right?
Yes.
So if there's somebody out there and you knew and you going in there in September, yo, I'm telling them to think outside the box. We going for the gusto. We here to tell you right now, adjust that.
That's right.
If they don't know nothing about that, and help them to go like this here. And you might, leader, need to go like this here too. Because that blue ribbon you talking about, you may not have ever tasted that yourself. So help them to do this, and now their thinking feels like, and now we could start doing big things. Kwame, I got one question to ask you. When you gonna write that first book?
It's on, bro. It's all. It is on.
Yeah, man.
I'm accountable.
I know they hungry. They probably think like, "Where's this book?" They probably on Amazon looking for it, and it's not there. Like, where's this dude's book?
It's coming, brother.
It's coming, y'all. It's coming.
We're gonna hold him accountable, Principal Kafele. We're gonna hold him accountable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For results. That's right, Dionel.
That's it. That's it. Hey, listen, folks out there, it's 12:13. I was ambitious on writing my agenda. I ain't even halfway through. Y'all, look, just hang with us for the time being, man. We got a lot to talk about. We talking about getting ready for this summer. But before we go, like them podcasters do when they got them. I was getting ready to name one of the sponsors for my favorite podcast. I was getting ready to do it again for the Pivot podcast. I ain't gonna name their sponsor, but I noticed how they be doing that. Let me just bring my sponsor. This broadcast, this live stream being sponsored by the Assistant Principal Identity. Right? So make sure you get yourself a copy. Go to Amazon right now on your other device. Get my new joint, or as Sharif would say, my new John, and or as Dionel would say, the Assistant Principal Identity. You can get it on Amazon right now. But again, these words this broadcast is being sponsored by the Assistant Principal Identity. Let's keep going. Here we go. You know, y'all, you might be aware that I had recorded these interview videos for assistant principals and principals to help them to get through the interview process. You know, not to give them questions that I don't know what the questions will be, but here's how you need to come to that interview. And I happen to know definitively there are thousands of people in administration across the country right now who are in there because of those videos. The reason I would know it definitively is because I said facetiously at the end of the videos, when you get the job, you better hit me up and say thank you. I was being facetious, but they took it literally, and I'm hit up by just thousands of people from over the past 7 years. Here's my point. A lot of them folks will hit me up and also say, I got the job. What's next? Like, now what? And that upset me. And I went on and made a video to express it and to say, well, here's some things you need to be thinking about. I want to throw that on to you. We're in the summer months now for most. The Northeast here, they still got a few more weeks. But here we are embarking on the summer. And there are some APs out there who got appointed, a whole lot of them out there who got appointed. And I want to ask you, I'm going to start with where we at here. I'm going to start with Kwame on this one. What is your message to that newly appointed AP, Kwame, that's now in the summer months about what's next as it relates to their summer preparation? They've never been in administration in their lives. They're coming out of the classroom or counseling, whatever it is. And now they got this job. What do you tell them?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you one thing. The first thing that you do is a listening tour. Reach out to everyone that's on the staff and ask 3 questions. What do you do here? Tell me something that you really enjoy about the school, and tell me one thing that you like to improve. You will be absolutely shocked at the kind of information that you're going to get from those questions. I'm not going to tell you to do anything after that, because what you need to do is going to be informed from the information that comes from that. And so, and the reason why that's important is because the first thing that people really want to know, and that's important as a leader, is can you remove obstacles for me that I can't remove for myself? And so in asking those questions, things are going to get elevated that are challenges for people that you can immediately, like low-hanging fruit, address those things. So 1, you get validity in the role by listening. 2, you get validity by then coming back and responding to what you heard. See, so many times leaders don't realize that they will ask questions and get busy and not respond and lose credibility, because people are like, oh, you just, here comes another survey, or here comes another thing. And now you start getting into the factors of what matters on teams. And the number one thing is trust. And so if they can't trust you as a leader, that's the hardest thing to get back if you lose it.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you go in with the mentality to listen, acquire that information, and begin solving that. And I'll share this. So my first year, I was a principal in DC. So I get there and I'm talking to the staff, and I was like, yes, on the first day of school, we meet with the kids, and the people start looking crazy. I say, what's going on? So one brave soul says, well, we don't meet with the kids all together. We never bring them all together at once. And so I'm waiting for like Ashton Kutcher to come out with the cameras, right? Like, I'm getting pumped. I was like, what? I said, like, no, man, we don't do that. I said, okay, well, I got that. So the first day of school, I get in there. We in the cafeteria, and it's hot as fish grease. Okay, I'm in the old building. They trying to cool it off with the room ACs, and it's spitting out little what's the little stuff that you got in there? The little that's supposed to keep it cool. It's spitting little chips out, but we in there. And the kids, I could tell why they said that. They acting up, man. So the auditorium's like a little amphitheater. So when I'm in there, I'm talking. Next, I see a little skittle come down. Dionel, I said, what? The next, they done organized it, Kafele, where they got Skittles all throughout, and it's starting to roll down. So now they got me tap dancing on candy.
Wow.
I said, oh, okay, I appreciate it.
Wow.
We have some parents there. I said, parents, go ahead. We about to have a family meeting. You can see them when you pick them up. So we go on. I end up telling them, I said, look, every time I'm interrupted, I'm gonna start the presentation over. So we go on. It's like 2 hours. They hot, they sweating. They going back and forth like, oh, please, sir. Don't nobody know my name. It's my first day. Please, sir. I said, okay. So now I can kind of figure out who's who in the room. So I said, all right. Now I kind of know who's interrupting. So if you interrupt, I'm gonna send you to the back. We get to the back and it's 20 kids. I send them out. The 6th graders go to lunch. It's time for lunch at this point. So they on their way to lunch. They don't even go to class. The teachers in the back of the room, I'm gonna date myself here. The teachers in the back of the auditorium looking at the door like 8 is enough, stacked on top of each other, looking to see if they're gonna take me out. And so we in there. And so I dismiss everyone. I leave the 20 kids in there. And I tell them, guys, here's the deal. It's the race to 20. They said, well, what you mean by that? And these the ones they look like they ready to fight. I said, okay, no problem. I understand what y'all saying. You know, y'all tough. I'm just trying to tell you, it's the race of 27. What you talking about with that? What you mean? They front me. I said, whoever here at the end of 20 days can lead the school. Time for y'all to get out. They said, what? I sent them all outside and put them on the front porch of the school. I brought my desk out there and said, this is where you're going to be. You don't want to be in school. Nobody had ever talked to them like that. I'm calling home. And see, what happens is when you match that energy with them, now the parents coming up, they're like, I know you're not talking to somebody like that on the first day of school. And you seeing people straighten up. You didn't do that at church. I said, I know you're not in the choir. You know, the way you was just in here acting, throwing candy at me and clowning. And so when you close that gap, remember what I said earlier, is recognizing the family. We brought them in early. We didn't let something linger on a long way. And now it was like a ripple effect for the school. The teachers were like, oh, we can meet with them. And we have someone who's not afraid of kids. Like, how do I protect the school and I'm afraid of you? Right? That just don't add up. And so I wanted to just share that, because once you do the listening, you then enact what you hear and make changes. You have to match that energy and address what those challenges are, because no decision is still a decision.
That's right. Still a decision. I love it. Hey, Dr. Waters, that AP newly appointed is June. In many states, they're not going to start until August. Other states, such as where I am, they're not going to start until September. What do you say to that newly appointed AP in terms of their summer preparation?
Man, Brother Kwame hit a lot of it already. We kind of talked around those questions and those listening tours, and I see what people are saying in the chat. So I just want to take just two quick things on that piece, just to put another spin on it. As the leader, you want to come in there with a vision. And Principal Kafele, you hit on this when you talked about inspiring the staff that we're going to make changes. We're going to get those quick wins. We're going to make sure we see the growth, as you gentlemen both said. But as a leader, one of the biggest goals for the leader is to take your words when you're inspiring the folks, saying we can do this, we can turn this school around, we can do all of those things. Those are words in the beginning. But see, those quick wins, that's when they're seeing your vision. So as a leader, you start out by explaining what that vision is, but you want your folks to be able to see that vision.
Yeah.
And they see that vision when they get those quick wins. They're seeing the progress. They're seeing the change. So you're making a believer out of those doubting Thomases that are in the building, that you know are going to make a decision if this is the right place for me or not. And when they're able to see that vision and grab hold of that vision with those quick wins, it's a powerful thing. You're making believers out of those that are doubting you. And so I say all that to say that when you go into the school, you really want to make sure that you're coming in with a strong vision that you're convicted by. Not something that someone told you or something that you heard on one of the leadership conferences or podcasts, but something that you truly believe in and that you're going to set your folks up for success to be able to do so. And when the school year starts, and even before the school year starts, AP or new principal, visibility leads to credibility. Visibility leads to credibility.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, as a high school assistant principal, there was a senior who came up to me and she said, Mr. Waters, are you an assistant principal here? And she'd been with me the whole year. I said, yes. She said, and she looked so confused. She said, how are you an assistant principal? And I always see you in the hallways walking around. I thought you were a hall monitor, because I always see you in the hallways walking around. And it's sad because she had the perception that the principal is someone who always stays in the office behind their closed door.
Right.
So I say that to say that visibility leads to credibility part is extremely strong. And I have folks on the call that I was their principal, and I will tell you that every morning after we had our morning announcements and they heard from me the morning announcements. Some schools nowadays, the principal don't even do the morning announcements. They get a secretary or counselor to do it. No, but the school needs to hear from the principal every day to get the day started, is my opinion.
And I'm gonna tell you this, it's more than my opinion. It's a mandate.
Yes, a mandate. They need to hear from that principal every day. And every time I finished with the morning announcements, I made sure I stopped by every single classroom just to check on the teachers to make sure everything was good to get the day started. And I got folks on this call that can testify to that. Make sure the day has started properly. I could check how many kids we have in the building, what's going on, and what have you. But I made it a point for them to see me every day, because that visibility part is critical. Do not get the keys to the building and then lock yourself behind the door.
Ooh.
They need to see you.
Ooh.
They need to see you. They need to hear you. They need to feel you, and they need to feel supported by you. So those new leaders and aspiring leaders, don't get in that habit. You have to make sure that you are out and about, you're being visible, you're leading to that credibility, because one of the saddest things, and I close with this, one of the saddest things I ever heard a graduating senior say on graduation day is, who is the principal?
Yeah. It's sad.
You ain't never lied.
You know, and as you were speaking, because you mentioned earlier that you, if I got this right, that you became an AP at age 25.
Yes.
Yeah. So as you were speaking, I wasn't looking at you as who I see on the screen. I'm looking at a 25-year-old walking those halls as a school administrator and assistant principal. And for me, on a personal level, that's amazing, because I know who I was at 25, and I was nowhere near that. Right. So I'm still trying to figure out who I am at 25. I'm trying to figure out life at age 25. And you already in administration on that trajectory to where you are now. That's incredible. And you know, but here's the beauty and why I bring it up, because everybody on this call, you have the ability to lead that youngster to that space at age 25. Right. But so are we, do we bring that intentionality toward bringing that youngster in our school that someone wrote off, but we see something different, to that point where at 25, at 20, at whatever, that youngster is going to be able to perform. That youngster is going to be able to fend, right? Or are we going to write that youngster off? Because we don't see in that youngster what we would like to see in that youngster. I'm saying to the newbies out there, and I guess the veterans as well, that's on our leadership, right? And I always make the distinction between leadership and leader, right? The leader is just the individual, but your leadership encompasses so much more. That's on your leadership as it relates to that youngster, despite the challenges that accompany the work that we do. And I'll use that word you use. That's my strong opinion, right? Hey, Doc, I want to stay with you. I want to stay with you on my next question. You wrote this book, Preparing and Surviving the First 90 Days of the Principalship. Y'all, you can go to Amazon and pick up a copy. It's a dynamite book, and mine, by the way, is autographed. Right. So so get yourself a copy of the book. But with that, I wrote something here as a new principal coming out of that particular title. Here we are in these summer months, and you're talking about these first 90 days. Before I get to the actual question, given the summer months, are the summer months a part of the 90, or do the 90 begin when the school doors open back up for students?
Very good question. I wrote the book with the summer months starting the 90. So the book was written backwards pretty much, meaning the first 30 days is when you get the keys. So you're looking at July to August. Then the next 30 is August to September, leading up when school starts and opens up for the Northeast and other places. So that August, September is the 60. And then you have September to October is where the last 30 comes in, where you start getting your data, you start reflecting on how everything's going with the school year, how did everything start out, and I break it down into cultural, instructional, and operational components. Because a lot of times when folks are interviewing for principal positions, what I'm seeing now is they're coming in with a really strong instructional lens, and some are coming in with also a strong cultural lens, but it's that operations piece where a lot of folks struggle with. And that's no fault to them because they have folks on campuses that do a lot of the operational pieces. But when you are a principal, you are the CEO of your building.
That's right.
I look at you're responsible for everything that happens and fails to happen inside of your building. So the book is written so that it starts in the summer months leading up to that October 1st, what I call Judgment Day. So the book starts with the listening tour. What are the questions that I mentioned earlier you want to ask? How are you setting the teachers up to come back? How are you looking at the data? What relationships are you establishing? How are you building up your leadership team before your staff come back, and especially before your students come back? And what Kwame said earlier, I talk about having grade level assemblies in the book where you have the grade level students and staff come in there and you set expectations the first day. So when he said they're not used to bringing everybody together, I really had to look crazy on the call then, because I'm like, no, you bring everybody together, students and staff, and you lay it out for the year. What it's going to be, how you performed the previous year, what have you, but everybody needs to hear the same message.
Yes.
So that everybody's aligned in the very beginning.
I love it, and I'm gonna stay with you on this question, but I want to go back. I guess I meant to, and I distracted myself with Kwame with that. See, for me, the first day of school when students come back from summer break, that's just mandatory. I got to talk to that school. I got to see them. I got to see me. If it's one of them big Texas, Vegas, LA mega schools, then we'll break it up. But here in Jersey, I'm gonna do 5 assemblies on the first day of school. It's just me and them. It's my whole school. I'm in the gym, so I can get them all in there. Then I'm doing a 9th grade meeting. Then I'm doing a sophomore meeting. Then I'm doing a junior meeting. Then I'm doing a senior meeting. So that's going to comprise my entire day. I'm speaking with that whole school in 5 meetings on day 1. But then on the first day of the next month, I'm doing it again. And then the first day of the next, I'm doing this for 10 months. I call it the state of the school message from the principal, right? So so I'm doing the morning message. Like you said, announcements, I say message, tomato. I do the morning message every day. But that principal's state of the school session or meeting, that's a little bit different, right? And it can be interactive, right? So I'm doing that because I'm low performing. I got the urban challenges, and I need to be in their faces on a regular basis. But let me just add this one more piece, because this ain't about me, it's about y'all. On the second day of every month, now with my Young Men's Empowerment Program, my seniors are going to speak to my freshmen. Now, I break this up by gender. So my senior young men got my freshman young men. And I don't coordinate any of that. They do that because they've been trained with it from grade 9 through 11. So then at grade 12, that's their meeting. So that's every first day of a second day of the month, seniors speaking to freshmen to get them acclimated for the next 4 years, right? So you can only imagine what that's doing for the culture of the school. So when I listen to Kwame talk about that, and then as you reinforced it, I don't know why I forgot to say, I guess I got caught up in the transition, but I'm saying to the audience out here, as leader, especially if your school is low performing, and if you matter, if you don't matter, your words don't matter, right? So therefore, you got to hold up your mirror and ask yourself, do I matter? And if you don't matter, then that's a part of your preparation. What are the things I need to do that my presence matters in that building to my students? Because see, like that principal that you talked about that's in that office all day, and then they think the AP is the principal. That principal don't matter. We don't even know who you are. What? You the principal? Why are you handing me the diploma? You the principal? I thought it was the guy that's effectuating change in my life every day. I thought that was the principal. And it turned out that person is not the principal. That's the assistant who's being groomed for the principalship. Man, let me
Yeah.
step off this soapbox. This ain't about me today.
That's right. That's right, Don.
Build, bro. Let's build it. Yes.
Hey, Kwame, I got a comparable question, even though it's Doc's book. But I wanted to ask you, because everybody's not going to see 90. Some people might see 60. Some people may see what 100, whatever. Kwame, what is that quantity of days that you would say to that leader? This is significant. And this is what you need to be thinking about within those X number of days.
Yeah. So I think building on the previous question that you gave me, I think it's taking that information that you got from the conversations that you had with your staff, and then aligning that with what your data is also telling you. And so what does your school climate and culture data, what is it saying? Right? What is your student achievement data saying? Also, something I think is important is attendance. And so when people think about attendance, I'm also tracking staff attendance. See, so something that people don't like to make connections with is usually on the student. Oh, the student wasn't here. And so, because of in-seat attendance, here is a consequence or something for grades. And so I would say to teachers, so if you miss the same amount of days as a student, what makes your grades valid? Because if you haven't been there to provide the instruction, what authorizes you to provide any grades to these kids?
Yeah.
Right. And so these become like nuances that you don't get immediately when you first get into the role. But that's why your systems are so important when you're looking at student achievement data. The first thing is you'll see, and this is something I was just talking with a client with the other day, that students who got a 0, or the student who didn't turn in the work at the end of the course were given an opportunity to make up work. And we see that happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We had a parent call who said, what about my child who got an F when they turned it in? So you got an equity issue. So I turned it in on time. I just didn't do it well. But this person didn't turn it in at all and is getting an opportunity. How are we giving the same? How are we extending the same grace to someone who didn't do well? And so those are the kinds of things I think that will build up. So answering those questions and then getting in there. I think Dionel brought it up, and I thought it's awesome. When I first got started, people weren't talking to me about going into classes. That's not what it was. He was very eloquent in stating, our role was, they see us many times as Black men. They don't give us the pedagogical keys to the building. You really get managerial keys to the building. Make sure those kids don't come out of the building. Make sure you don't have fights in your building. But no one is saying, hey, I want Dr. Waters for his intellectual capacity. See, that's us giving that to each other. And so I think the getting inside those classrooms and observing, like he talked about, is an absolute critical step that you have to take, because now you're going to see if what people were telling you is an issue actually manifests with what you see. It's almost like taking gospel, what you hear in the teacher's lounge, versus what's actually happening. That's what separated me, because I got promoted in my same building. And so I became an AP in the same building with people I used to be in the teacher's lounge with. So I'm in there like, yeah, man, this thing isn't right. And when I started observing their classes, I was like, I would have never been friends with you. Like I would have never went to the happy hour or the whatever we were doing as colleagues, because I loathe what I see happening in here.
Yeah.
But like, this is not it. And so I think that's something that's important, and that you'll see is get inside those classrooms, implement and address what you hear out of those conversations, and then use the time after you get those couple of things down to get your systems built. Because what happens is a critical issue for new leaders is thinking you can outwork the work. right? You can't outwork it. And so if you see yourself, and this is something I say all the time when I'm coaching leaders, I said, if it's a room full of them, I say, how many people in here are working 40 hours? Everybody's like, of course. I'm like 50 hours, 60. People are like, yeah, keep going. It becomes a joke. And I said, well, here's the thing. You give me 8 hours in your building, and I can find for you the people that report to you who aren't working 40. Because you are a problem solver, or the buck stops with you. So when people are arriving late, leaving early, you're still there at 7, 8 o'clock while they done been to the gym, been to the movies, and now they watching their favorite show, and you still sitting in your same clothes from the morning. Let's take some of that same time and now make sure we start holding people accountable for the salary plus benefits that you sign in for every couple of weeks. Right. And so that accountability, but in order to build that accountability, you got to understand and build systems for people to have lanes where they should be operating.
Yeah. Kwame, you said something when you got that appointment to the AP position after having taught in that school. We use that expression, the 11th hour, and I had a real true to life 11th hour. I was going to be the AP in the school I taught, effective January 2nd, right, 1998, meaning that I was teaching 5th grade in December. So so that 2 weeks off for holiday break between December to January, I become my colleague's supervisor, right? So at the 11th hour, the superintendent said, oh, heck no. Right. And then on the other hand, because of me being outspoken in my politics and my love of history, all that was a part of my identity and presence. So people knew that. So I had enemies on that staff. Right. So now they would be so these people who are calling me a racist and all this kind of stuff. Now I'm gonna be your boss. So at the 11th hour, superintendent said, we putting you in the middle school, right, where you don't know nobody. and that's what happened. And that was a blessing for me, because I don't know that this would have worked in that particular environment, because just as you said, I would have been the same way with a lot of that staff. I would have been mad at myself for being friends with them, the ones I was friends with, because I learned over time there was some folks in there that just weren't getting the job done, right? So here's my position with that. Superintendents that may be watching, assistant superintendents who may be watching, you must do your darn best to not keep that person, that teacher in that building as now the supervisor of their friends just a minute ago.
That's right.
Put them somewhere new where they don't have that kind of familiarity, so that they can start fresh. Now, my advantage, I think, was the kids I taught went to the school that I became AP. So they spread the word. Oh, my principal's coming. I mean, my old teacher's coming, and he ain't no joke. So they did all this PR for me. So when I got there, it kind of welcomed me into the building because of them, But everybody's situation is not going to be that. But good stuff, man. I got so caught up, Dr. Waters. I don't even know if I asked you the same question already. I don't know what order I went in. So
No,
I think I did, right?
Yes.
What'd you say?
No, you started with me.
Okay, good. So let's hey, audience, I got just a few more. Y'all hang with me. Hit the retweet button, hit the share button, hit the repost button, but hit that like button, man. That's how we mess with them algorithms, right? Hit that like button, y'all. Listen, question for you. Let me start with Kwame on this one. The summer break. That's all we talking about here. The summer break. Kwame, what significance when we talk about the summer preparation, transition into the new school year? What is the significance of the leader's leadership purpose, leadership mission, leadership vision? And I'm not talking about school mission, purpose, mission, and vision at all in this question. I'm talking about that individual, your leadership purpose, mission, and vision, what may be their significance going into the new school year? I mean, summer preparation going into the new school year.
Yeah, so I think this is
And by the way, shout out to Valari Humphrey, who's on the call now.
all right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great question. And I'll answer it this way, which is going to be some topics I'm going to go into over the series of keynotes and some trainings over the summer. So one of the key things about leadership is being able to identify gray areas, right? Like things exist in your school that aren't named, right? So it's like a desired culture versus lived culture, right? Being able to really identify things that exist. So I'm going to use this as an example. So sleep is recommended that most people get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, right? So I'm one of the people that suffers from not sleeping 8 hours, right? I'm usually like a 5 to 6 hour.
Me too.
Right. I'm just like, and so as I've been studying sleep and health, one of the things that the research says is that the more hours you don't get 8, the physiological complications begin to happen. So a very healthy person who loses 1 hour of sleep consecutively for a week could become physiologically challenged to become type 2 diabetic in just 1 hour. There's also research that says when the same group does this, because there's an experiment that impacts almost 1.5 billion people every year, daylight savings time. They said for judges that have the impact of daylight savings time, the next day issue harsher sentences the day after daylight savings time. The physiological impact. And so if we're saying it takes a week for that to happen, that means that you have done something to your body and you have removed it, you haven't fed it what it needs to be fed in over a week. The impact that's beginning to happen. And so I'm saying and analogizing this to leaders, that as a leader, if you have critical people in your organization that you don't speak to, you aren't feeding and giving them what they need in over a week, people don't then begin to not believe in you. They then begin to believe in anything. So what do we get from that? Gossip, improper reports, struggles. And so now your systems are eroding because you aren't watering or feeding them. And so leaders, you have to take the time when kids are not in session and have critical meetings. You got to feed the people in your organization and build their capacity so that they understand the expectations of their role. They understand the locus of their control, the ability to make decisions within their realm of roles and responsibilities, and you empower them to deliver. Right? Each of us have been talking about this on the show today. You got to deliver. You got to increase their thinking and their confidence to deliver. And so I want to make that point, because here's the other thing. I'll share this and I definitely want to hear from Dionel. So you got two parts of sleep: REM, rapid eye movement, non-REM, non-REM. They serve two different purposes. The REM, the REM is designed for you to actually kind of reconcile and just kind of like have the best sleep. It's your REM, that's the dream, the rapid eye movement that's trying to reconcile things that you did not resolve during the day. And so think, as a leader, the science behind understanding that if you are leaving something unresolved with the people on your team, it's having a lasting physiological effect on them because they can't sleep. Think about that. When you first, and so what also happens, and I know we all, because this happened to me, when you don't get sleep, you wake up because of dietary choices. You don't wake up after not having 8 hours of sleep and eat broccoli and Brussels sprouts. You take for the sugary supplements, cake, ice cream, donuts. And so think about, we call it in college the freshman 15, but the principal 15. That first year is a principal because you eating for the first time at 3 o'clock, because you don't eat breakfast, you're not eating lunch. Like, these are all the things because you're trying to outwork the work. So the time that you spend over the summer you need to understand, become these ingredients, almost like a garden. You're planting seeds that you're going to harvest, but you got to be patient with it and feed it and water it and nurture it on a regular basis to get the intended outcome. And so that will be my response to the approach to addressing the time that they should spend over the summer, understanding the power of talking to their critical leaders and understanding the physiological effects if they do not.
And inherent in everything you said, I was able to hear purpose. I was able to hear mission, and I was able to hear vision. And you crafted it in a way that I obviously did not anticipate, but it was right there. And I appreciate that, because it needs to be heard. But when you talked about that sleep deprivation, which I am certainly a victim of, I'm not conditioned to do 8 hours. I cannot do 8 hours. 5 and 6 is my norm. But the type 2 diabetes came in 2015, right? Wow. Yeah, it came with the heart attack. They came the same night. The heart attack, I wake up from the heart attack, the surgery, and there's the type 2 diabetes that I had no warning for. So I wasn't told I was pre-diabetic. It's just now I'm type 2. I'm full blast type 2 diabetic. So, so what you said, it resonates, because who knows, maybe that's a part of the reason, because, and when you're young and you're chasing them goals and you have a platform, then you're putting out that bad information, telling people that I don't sleep and neither should you, because you should be going hard like me, chasing after these dreams. And then as you get a little older, you're like, man, maybe that's not the message I should be putting out there. So I don't put that message out there anymore. I still don't get the sleep, because I quite frankly, I wouldn't be able to. I'll just be laying there daydreaming. But I don't put that message out there anymore, So, but same, I appreciate that, all of that. Same thing, Dr. Waters, in terms of the significance of the leadership's, the leaders' sense of purpose, mission, and vision over the summer as they're preparing for the opening of school in the fall.
We spoke a lot about the inner workings of the school during the summer, but I just want to go to what Brother Kwame mentioned regarding the health and the self-care part of everything. I always tell folks, especially aspiring leaders, you can't give what you don't have. You can't give what you don't have. And if you're not taking care of yourself properly, and I'm guilty of this as well, if you're not taking care of yourself properly, then you can't be your best for those that count on you to be your best.
Yeah.
And one thing we have to do as leaders over the summer is really get to the point where, yes, we're going to reflect on the work. Yes, we know there's areas of the work that we want to improve on, but how are you improving yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? Because the work is going to be the work. It's going to be there. And I love what Brother Kwame said. You can't outwork the work. You can't. How do you know? Thanks for asking, Brother Kwame. I know because when I was a teacher in Australia, one of the principals in our district area down there was working on a Friday evening, and her husband called and was looking for her. Called the phone, called the school. They couldn't get in contact with her. Never came home. Saturday, they went to the school, And when they opened up the school, she was dead at her desk, trying to outwork the work. And you really have to be able to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. And when you do that, you're able to really focus on what is your purpose, professionally and personally. What is your mission? What is the vision that you have for others? And you have to get to the point where you're able to just slow down and make sure that you're giving your very best to those that depend on you, from students all the way up to staff, family, and all of those pieces. But we give so much, and we mentioned this in the very beginning. The folks that are closest to us, our wives, we give so much to others, and they sacrifice so much too. So one thing one of my mentors told me is, don't lose your wife or your family behind folks that are borrowing you. These folks need you. These folks are borrowing you. So don't lose that, because that's always going to be there for you. They need you. So don't lose what you need to something that is borrowed. And when you're able to really focus on that, that is really powerful, because that also brings you back to your purpose and your mission and your vision. Don't work so hard trying to do so many things to take care of the family. I got to work so I can take care of the family. I got to do this to take care of my wife. I got to do this to take care of my kids, at the expense that you lose all of that.
That's right.
And to put it real plainly, and to close out, gentleman told me at the family reunion one time, don't you ever put yourself in the situation for your kids to call somebody else daddy. So what that means is, make sure you're taking care of home just as much as you are taking care of those folks that have you on borrowed time.
That's right. Big facts.
You kind of said a word right there.
Yes, sir.
I'm having an internal war right now. Like, do we build on that, or do we stay with the script, right? With today's topic? Because I guess I'm the OG out of the three of us on here, and I'm going to say what you said, but I'm gonna word it differently. So brother leader out there, sister leader out there, your family needs you. That side piece is just borrowing you. See, that's what Brother Waters just said. He just didn't say it quite like that. He kept it professional. I'm going to go unprofessional. That side piece just borrowing you. They don't even want the whole of you. They just want a piece of you. But you got that family that needs you. But you putting yourself in a situation where somebody else, or your children, might be calling somebody else daddy. See, so you might want to think about that too, because when you take on that role of principal, and I'm gonna holler at my brothers out here on this one real quick. You got status now. You big dog. You principal. People looking at you differently, and you got to keep all that in perspective. All that in perspective. I ain't gonna get heavy with it, because then I want to stay with it. But you got to keep it in perspective. You ain't a regular dude no more. You are the leader of a school. Your name is on the wall of a school. It's invisible, but everybody sees it. So you've been elevated in that role. Don't let your ego get inflated, though. When she's looking at you, just put the blinders on and look forward. Stay focused. Right? I'll keep that right there. Right? I'll keep it right there. Listen here. I'm winding down, y'all. Summer preparation. Any books that our viewers should be reading right now? Let me go with Dr. Waters on that. Any books you might recommend that they should be reading as they're preparing for the new school year, particularly the newer? In addition to this book, of course, preparing for and surviving the first 90 days of the principalship by our guest, Dr. Dionel Waters. In addition to your book, because this is the one. But in addition to this one, anything else that they need to have on their book list to be reading this summer?
One book that I just finished using with my assistant principals for our cohort this past year. Shout out to Mr. Francis on the call. I saw his name pop up, Mr. Francis. Um, it's The Multiplier Effect. And I don't think I have a copy of it right in front of me, but it's called The Multiplier Effect. And the purpose of that book is being able to build up the leadership capacity in those that you serve in order to have a multiplied effect on the campus overall. And that multiplier effect book really goes back to what Brother Kwame was saying about making sure you empower your leaders to be able to lead and do the work, because you can't do this all by yourself.
Yeah.
And that multiplier effect allows for you to really reflect on you as a leader and how you are empowering those around you to bring forth a multiplied effect. Yes, you can have an effect as an individual, but when you bring your team with you and you're all on the same page and you're working, that's when your effect is multiplied and you're not carrying so much of the weight on your shoulders by yourself. So that would definitely be one that I would recommend for the summer.
I love it. The Multiplier Effect. Jennifer Desmond put it up there, and there it is for y'all if you didn't hear. The Multiplier Effect. How about yourself, Kwame?
Yeah, so I say one. Y'all been on me about the book, but I will reference. I wrote an article for ASCD, the Building the Endurance to Lead, that I think will be a great approach. One of the things that's in there, because a lot of my theory around leadership has to do with addressing being an adaptive leader and understanding how to address adaptive challenges, like spend your time with those kind of challenges. And so I've added in that article a checklist to be looking for, and as they self-assess the work that they're doing. And so I think checking out that article and obviously the work that you guys have put out, I think will be great summer reading. And then I'll add one more, because I think one of the subtopics that's emerging from our conversation today has to do with how leaders are communicating. And so Daniel Pink's book, Drive, right? Understanding intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And so how do you motivate people and sustain the energy to keep them engaged?
Angelique wants what? Name the article.
Oh, Building the Endurance to Lead.
And that's ASCD.
Correct.
So let me Angelique, let me take it. Let me show you the spelling of Kwame's name there. So just Google Kwame Simmons, and the article, and put ASCD. Just put Kwame Simmons ASCD, and I'm sure the article is just going to pop right up. Right. So you'll see it. You'll see it there. I got one more for y'all, and then we'll close it out with the rapid fire questions. The three of us participated in Sharif El-Meki's organization's conference, Black Male Educators. What's that last word? Black Male Educators convening in Philadelphia, and it'll be the next one is next November. It's always in November, folks, in Philadelphia. Certainly when there's information he put out, but I don't have it in front of me, but I will be posting more about it. I have posted, but I will be posted as he continues to give us the information. Sharif, you can feel free to put those dates in the chat if you want, and I'll highlight them. But the whole idea of the conference, folks, the theme, the recruitment, the hiring, the training, the retention of Black male educators, and I will add the right Black male educators to come into the classroom. And I put the information there this November 16 through 18 in Philadelphia. We'll all be there, I'm sure. I know I will. And so here, I want to ask you, as we've got seasoned leaders on the call, and this is my last question. We've got new leaders on the call. What are some of the things that they can do to ensure that over time, as we build this thing, that we have more of a, if I got vacancies, what can we do to increase the presence of the right black men in the classroom for the children. And I'll add this to it. A lot of times we say we want black men in the school for black children. And I typically add, nah, that non-black child needs that black man too, that black woman too, right? Not just black teachers for black children, but black teachers for all the children. So what is it that they can do? Because sometimes they'll say, well, I don't know where they are. I can't reach them. I can't find them, all that kind of thing. What can they do to bring those brothers into their schools to be a part of the staffs of their staffs? Let me see. Start with Dr. Waters.
So let me back this up a little bit by just saying, when I went to Morehouse, my major was elementary education and child development. We talk about the shortage of black men in education, but at Morehouse College, the school that's supposed to be the #1 school for black men, didn't even have an education department. So I had to take my education courses over at Spelman College, the all-female school. Trust me, I had no problem going over to Spelman. I didn't fight it. That's where I met my wife, at Spelman. So I didn't fight going over there. But it sends a message. It sends a message that we say we need black men in education. We have some black men here at Morehouse who want to major in education and go into the field, but we don't have a department. We have to go to the all-female school across the street. And none of the TFAers and things like that came down to recruit even at Morehouse. So we have men in these pockets of places where they're interested in going into education. So one thing that I always tell my HR committee is, let's be intentional about where we're going to be able to find them. But more importantly, when we find them and when we get them, and I want to make sure I credit Mr. Elmecki on this because I heard him say this too. When we find them and we get them, let's make sure we have the right ecosystem around them to keep them, to mold them, to orient them, to train them so that they can be successful and remain with us. See, that's one of the biggest gaps. And I noticed this when I was a black male teacher myself. They got me in, but what did they give me to make sure that I was going to be successful when I got there? We're not just trying to hit a quota. We're not just trying to hit numbers, but what are we doing to make sure that the black men that we do get, we are going to make sure that they're going to be successful in that space. And they see opportunities for growth and opportunity for mentorship and things like that. So yes, we want to be intentional on getting them, but what are we doing to make sure that we're cultivating them properly to be not only a great teacher and role model for black students, but for all students? I mentioned earlier when I was in Australia, I was the first black person a lot of the students ever seen in their life personally. All they knew is what they saw on TV. And that spoke volumes. None of my children over there were black. So that spoke volumes. And you were able to have an impact on them, not just the students that look like you, but all students, because you get to see black men in a whole different total light.
Before you take the same question, Kwame, Tiandra asked, did anyone catch the book Kwame mentioned?
Yeah, I think Sharif posted it. It's Drive.
Daniel Pink. Yeah. Let me find that. Go ahead with that answer while I look for that. Oh, you got it right there. Okay. There you go. There you go. And then here's the link. Same thing. What are your thoughts about that, Kwame?
So I think a couple of things. One, I think we'd be remiss because we have all been sharing research to help support the structural development of our APs and other leaders. And so I'd be remiss if I did not share Jim Crow's Pink Slip. Jim Crow's Pink Slip, the untold story of Black principal and teacher leadership.
Yeah.
What I want to emphasize out of that is when we're talking about having to find Black teachers, we also need to be conscious of the historical context. The fact that before segregation, before desegregation, you had Black male teachers.
That's right.
After Brown versus Board of Education, policies changed by state that increased or changed the certifications that allowed you to become a teacher in the era of desegregation, that dramatically decreased the amount of Black teachers that we see, and we have never recovered. So the past is ever present. Let me tell you something that's powerful, and it's a big shout out to International Community School. So I have a new client in Accra and Kumasi, Ghana. When I was there, 55 to 60% of the teachers, Black men. Physics, English, elementary school. Like it was so many, I couldn't count. I had to ask them to go get me the demographics. And so what you see there is a balance of the school buildings, an expectation, a representation that all these young kids can see, like, no, I could be an English teacher. I can be a physics teacher. I could be a science teacher. It's not something that's far off into the sunset. So I think that's first. I think we also have to look at what I mean about the past is ever present. So when we say, where are we getting these Black male teachers from? You got places like University of Michigan, Michigan State, Dionel, Wayne State. These are places that are all in Michigan. These large universities that have over 10,000, 20,000 students currently enroll less than 15% Black teachers in a education, in a teacher certification program, right? That's currently Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, University of Alabama, these gigantic places. And so now you look at our HBCUs who get this reputation that your experience at an HBCU doesn't prepare you for the real world, right? That's what you get from folk who don't understand and represent the culture, right? That Dionel went to a university that every year graduates the most Black men anywhere. And I think and Morehouse has less than 10,000 brothers at the school. Less than 10,000, but every year. But you got universities with 60,000 kids. So now you say, okay, so if less than 15% are in these large universities, where are they coming from? They're 65% of certified teachers in public education come from historically Black colleges and universities. Big facts. 65% of them are coming from historically Black colleges and universities. So then the question becomes, first thing is, you want to know where to get a qualified Black male, a Black teacher? Start by asking them. Asking the ones that you have in there. Again, you have to affirm the culture. You have to realize that what a person is sharing with you is information that can elevate you. Just listen. To get out of your mind this notion that you're the Holy Grail and just ask. When I was in school, I asked my kindergartners, how's lunch? They'll tell you the truth. Like, man, I hate that pizza. That pizza is dry. We got to do something. And so I went back and advocated for them, right? And so just ask these questions. And so asking them, they're going to talk to you because that's where you get the networks. I'm going to also share another article. My brother wrote this article, Kwame Simmons. Big shout out, bro. The 4% rule. So Jamal did this research, and he's been in politics and in government all his career. He said he's done this research that says organizations keep an employment rate of 4% or less of people of color, because when you keep that level at less than 10%, it almost certifies their ability to be promoted and become C-suite or CEOs. Because the pool of talent is so small, you can justify not giving them positions because there were so many other applicants in the pool that didn't look like them. And so we have to go to where the research is supporting. Let's get to our HBCUs. Let's validate that they're actually producing, because that's what the results say. It's not me making it up. I'm telling you, 65% of our certified teachers who are coming out of school as an education major are coming from HBCUs. So that's what I would say. You start by asking them, and then you go to our HBCUs, and then you start asking them, right? How do you build those pipelines and get those people into your schools?
Man, that's some powerful information. You know, folks, the two of you, we've come to the close of the formal part of the conversation. I want to go to the rapid fire, but before I do, I gotta say, this was powerful. You know, this exceeded my expectations, for sure. And you know, just reading the comments, and you know, my task as the host is to ask the questions, but I'm also serving as engineer, right, and producer, and I'm multitasking. This is not easy because I want to see what people are saying, right, and then I want to highlight certain comments that I see, but I want to hear you. Somebody accused me way back when I had Todd Whitaker on here, and someone wrote in on YouTube. They said this was a great interview, but it would have been better if Kafele was paying attention, and I've never forgotten that. And I said, I said to the person later, you don't understand what I'm doing. You don't understand what the objectives of this platform are. So I got to make it work, but I got to keep the audience engaged. So as I was reading the comments, man, it's just the two of you are just resonating with just countless people. You know, people saying, I needed this. Yolanda McKinney was saying that all the sessions have been fired, but this one in her season right now, it really mattered to her. It really resonated with her. So I just appreciate the two of you for everything that you poured into this platform and to these folks that tune in every week, the family of the Virtual AP Leadership Academy today. Let's go to our rapid fire. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Waters. 10 questions, 1 word answer, 1 sentence answer. Either one, just don't exceed the 1 sentence, right? Because some of my guests, they be doing a whole lecture. I'm like, oh,
okay, I'm up for it.
Here we go. Is education on the right path for underserved children?
Yes, to a certain degree, but we can do more.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Yes, once our Black leaders get together and align on what that should look like.
Does Dr. Dionel Waters' work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Yes.
If you could do
especially in Texas.
There you go. If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
It would be the same because I'm not 6'3" to go to the NBA.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because of the educators that impacted my life when I was young.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
Knowing that I'm trying to make a better society for my children and others.
What is it about some aspect of this work that you just absolutely love?
Being with the kids and interacting with them.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
All the politics and the politicking I have to do.
What has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
Having children come back to me that I've taught and said, you are the reason why I am where I am today.
And what was your greatest mistake in this work?
Not believing in myself in the very beginning to know that I could do more than just be a classroom teacher.
Brother Kwame, what has been your greatest challenge in this work?
Accessing information.
Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
No.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Yes.
Who inspires you in this work that you do?
My family.
What are you reading now? Book, blog, article, anything?
Jim Crow's Pink Slip.
There you go. What book would you, and obviously I built this into the questions today, but I'm still asking, what book would you recommend for our viewers this afternoon?
Ooh. You know, I would say Jawanja Kunjufu's Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys.
And you know, I've never interrupted these questions, but I'm gonna do it real quick. I've been trying to get him on here so bad, and Dr. Kunjufu doesn't like virtual platforms. You know, he just doesn't like it. So for the past year, I'm trying to angle this thing in ways that he'll say yes, and I'm gonna keep on doing it because I said, Doc, you the legend, you the man, you that GOAT. You know, everybody uses that word loosely. You are that guy. I need you on. Oh man, I don't like virtue. You know, so I'm gonna get him on here, but I'm gonna have to keep pushing until he decides to come on here.
He the GOAT. Just go to him and broadcast from right there.
Yeah, I know, right? That might be it because we was on here back and forth emailing last Saturday, and I'm like, come on, Doc, you know,
right?
Yeah, I might have to go to Chicago and just take out the phone.
Let me know. That's just right up the street. I'm coming for that. There's gonna be some jewels in that session.
Yes. Gave me an idea. I might have to just go right to the crib, right? And we just do it that way. Let me keep going. I know the young heads are on here saying, "Who's Dr. Kunjufu?" Right? Sure. Because I'd be places and I drop his name, like y'all know Dr. Who's that? Okay, let's keep moving. So here we go. So Kwame, what do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
Seeing a school system that has struggled sustain it for the duration of my life.
And you said the key word, system, not a school.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you satisfied with where you are professionally right now?
No.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Your gift can take you where your character cannot keep you.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
That's a good one. Find the student or the teacher that inspired you most.
I love it. I love it. One more. Kwame, if Kwame Simmons was a word in the dictionary, what would be your definition?
Word. I would say my namesake, Kwame Nkrumah.
There you go.
Kwame Nkrumah brought independence to Ghana in 1957. And so when my father and mother named me Kwame, I had no idea the monumental shoulders that I needed to strengthen to carry such a name. And so that has been something that's always motivated me for my life. And so I would say Kwame Nkrumah.
And when I named myself, that K you see there, why can't I do that? That K you see there in the middle, that's Kwame.
Yes.
I did the same as you did. And also the dual purpose, it means born on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. If Dr. Dionel Waters was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Depends on who you ask, but I will say resilient.
Resilient. And that takes us right to the end, brothers. Once again, extraordinary. I loved every part of it. I know the audience did too, but to the fam out there, you know how we salute the guests that come on this platform. Let us know. Hit us up with some praise with your favorite emojis, whether it be hearts, fire, bombs, diamonds, gems, whatever it is you use. Let them know that that they didn't waste their time this morning by being guests on the platform, but they were beneficial. I see it coming now. Let us know. Hit me up with those emojis and let them know of how you felt about this broadcast this morning. I see them coming. Yolanda Croswell said bomb.com. There it is. Yeah, I see them, y'all. I see them coming. And the way I thank my guests, I pull out my black Louisville Slugger here. This This got my name on it from the folks in Louisville, and let you know that you hit the grand slam right out the park, all 4 times at bat. Man, and you know, some people wouldn't recognize a shirt like this because this is this company I use, where I buy my Negro League jerseys. They got these summer shirts now. So this is actually New York Black Yankees. It's not some Yankee jersey. This is the New York Black Yankees, but they designed this alternate short sleeve summer joint with the Black Yankee insignia here. Yes, and when these came out, I bought 12 of them, right? 12 different teams, and they're mesh. You know, these are not the flannel like the ones I wear during the year. These are mesh, man. I love these shirts, man. So that's what I'll be wearing all summer on the platform. But yes. I thank y'all, man. Let them know how they could reach you. I'll start off with Dr. Waters. How can they reach you and tell them about the book? If they want to book you to come out and speak, let them know.
Yes. Thank you so much again, Principal Kafele, for the opportunity to be on here with you today. Truly grateful and blessed to be here. Man, Brother Kwame, my man, we're going to hold you accountable for your book. Yes, just know that, man. Yeah. You got a lot of gems to shoot out, and we'll be the first ones in line to be able to get it for you. So thank you for sharing the platform with me today. Thank you all for your presence and participation. My handles are Dr. Waters, PhD on Instagram. Please reach out to me if I could be of assistance for you, as well as www.pioneerleadershipcoaching.com. And the book is available on Amazon. But I wanted to just say to the group, keep your fire, keep your passion going. I mentioned earlier about Australia, my time there. And one thing that stood out to me that really keeps me going and making sure I'm doing the best for students that look like us is the fact that I had a student in Australia tell me in 5th grade that he wanted to go to school in America for college. And Australia has this fine universities over there, but he wanted to come to America to go to college. And what that said to me was, we have to do a better job, not just getting our students to compete against each other, but compete against folks on the other side of the world that look nothing like them. And they want your spot. So as leaders, we have to make sure we're doing whatever we can for folks that look like us. And if they don't look like us, they need us even more to make sure that we keep our fire alive so that they can be the best that they can be, because they have folks that don't even know them on the other side of the hemisphere trying to fight them for their spot. So keep up the great work you all are doing. I was just honored to be here with you all today. Shout out to my wife for helping me get together and giving me all these notes to make sure I stay on top of what I need to talk about.
Nice. Kwame, same thing.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate it. So please, anytime you can reach out at SimmonsAdvantage.com. You can reach me there, Facebook, Kwame Simmons, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. So feel free, whichever platform you feel most comfortable with, send me a note and let's connect. Time is of the essence. Let's not wait around for the summer. We have some availability to get some work done. And so please reach out sooner than later, because you got to understand, you got some fire Black men on here. So we booking up quick. So make sure that you are there. And then I can't wait. I want to go ahead and give a shout out for Sharif El-Mekki. I think Principal Kafele, we got to get him back on here to talk about the conference. Oh, yeah. That conference, bro, like, I mean, we was there. All of us were there, and that's the only time we all kind of get a chance to be together. Yeah. And so, as much as I want to be able to promote myself, I want to be able to promote what elevates all of us. And so let's make sure we get some connections and get that done. And then lastly, my brother, big bro, I appreciate you, man. Like this was dope. And so you stated earlier, Dionel, when Principal Kafele stated, he said, yeah, he hadn't had an employer in 12 years. I reminded him at the BMEC conference that I was at one of his sessions for the very first time within his first year leaving. Yeah. So I looked on there and I said, a name like Baruti Kafele, he got to be Black. And so I always saw, feature sessions with Black led educators. And so I went, we were out in Vegas. This was like a Halloween weekend. It's probably like 2011 or something like that. That's the first time I saw him. And that's one of the notions of with Kafele and Anthony Muhammad, my other brother from here. Well, I saw them too.
He been on here.
Oh, it's a whole nother level, you know. And so keep pushing. And so I just want to thank you, bro, for always setting the standard and pushing and paving the way. And I'm just honored to be able to learn from you and keep pushing and moving the needle.
I appreciate, man. Them words mean a whole lot to me. I appreciate both of you.
Same here.
Hey, folks. Let me close out. Y'all stay there though, folks. As I say every week, this is week 163. Appreciate you being here. Come on back with us next week. I'll have the turnaround principal, Dr. Jamar Mills. He's from here in Jersey, and Principal Alicia Fields out there in Florida. I think she's in the Tampa area. We're going to have another good conversation with leaders. So that's next Saturday, week 164, 10:55. Next week, Facebook Live, Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Tammy Taylor, 10:30. Unlock the Middle on Sunday night at 7, Facebook Live. Josh Tovar, Dean Packard, and in the Village Leadership Group with Dr. Roz Gaskins and Coach Williams, Tuesdays and Thursdays. School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. Join me live in Charlotte, July 11 and 12. I'll be there from 9 to 4 both days. Go to principalkafele.com. Scroll down to the announcements. You'll see it there. Hit the register button. Join me in Charlotte for 2 days. We talking leadership. I don't care what your capacity of leadership is. Just join me in Charlotte, July 11 and 12. The Assistant Principal Identity, that's my newest one. Get yourself a copy if you don't have it yet. It's a 3-part series. The Assistant Principal, I appreciate that. The Assistant Principal Identity. I'm writing the Assistant Principal Impact right now. It comes out next May. And then the Assistant Principal Legacy comes out the May after 2025. So it's a 3-part series to coincide with the Assistant Principal 50. So get yourself a copy. Just go to Amazon right now and get it out the way. The Rock Conference, man. Black Educators Rock. Put that website up, Melissa. The Black Educators Rock is going to be the 13th through the 16th in Jacksonville, Florida. Put that website up for me, Melissa Chester, the president of Black Educators Rock. We'll be down there from the 13th through the 16th. We got some heavyweights coming, man. It's going to be big time. I'll be there the 15th just mingling. And then the 16th, I'm going to be working from 10 to 4 in my Leadership Academy. So that's going to be for all leaders. So come on to the Leadership Academy in Charlotte, but then join me at the Rock Conference where I'll be talking from 10 to 4, 6 hours leadership. But we'll break for lunch, of course. But then after that, we come back to it. But the 13th through the 16th, man, we got a little bit of everybody. And Dr. Waters and Kwame Simmons, Dr. Chester just told me, make sure that I tell y'all, come on down if you can. But like I told you in the beginning, we don't pay nobody. Not yet, right? Because everybody understands the mission with this conference. So we come down. I'm doing 6 hours for no money. I'm paying for my rental car, my room. I'm paying my flight, everything to go down there and rock with the people. So come on down and join us if you can. You know, I know y'all busy, but if you can, come on down. But I want y'all out there in the viewership. Come on down there and join us. Make sure you visit principalkafele.com. I got so much on there, y'all. I don't mean things I sell. I mean things that's just resources for you that are free. Just go on there and check out all the writings, all the videos and the this and the that. Just go to the website. And then lastly, your diet, take care of yourself. Your exercise, take care of yourself. Even COVID-19 precautions, continue to take care of yourselves. Other than that, I thank you for being here. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! And that's what this show was. That's what this session was today. It was bam! I see y'all next Saturday, but y'all be safe, man.